While backstabs had a dramatic impact on player behavior, the effect of parries was far less pronounced. While they did force players to be less predictable, their existence didn't completely eliminate a range of weapons and actions. They did provide two distinct gameplay issues. First was that offline parries executed so quickly as to guarantee easy encounters versus certain enemies. The second was how parries worked online. Success was for the most part based on a mix of predicting an attack that hadn't begun, preemptive parries, and assuming the enemy was going to continue their swing combo, set up and poise parries. The exception to this seemed to be encounters where both players were located in Japan. In at least some of those cases, the latency between players was so low that they could sight parry later weapons, and execute maneuvers that would be literally impossible elsewhere. I'm still unsure as what to make of parries in Dark Souls 2. It's certainly a bit more difficult to execute a parry against NPCs. Against players, even with servers being overloaded by the network test, parries were a good bit easier than you would expect. Rather than having to begin a parry far in advance, players could pretty much parry in real time. This is much improved over Dark Souls 1, where similar wind-up time for parries might have made it impossible to parry anything. One thing that I noticed with parries in Dark Souls 2 is that in order to successfully riposte an enemy, the player must first wait for them to land after being parried. In fact, attacking the enemy before they land forfeits the riposte. Attacking at that point simply results in a single attack connecting, and the enemy is left invulnerable to further damage until they get back up. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the delay. On one hand, it buys time for additional enemies to step in and interrupt the riposte. On the other hand, it could mean that the successful parry incapacitates an enemy long enough to take other actions, such as healing or attacking other enemies. One thing that we noticed while testing is that it's now possible to parry while two-handing a weapon, simply by pressing L2. The change should be a great boon to shieldless players and heavy weapon users. The timings between PvE and PvP parries were very similar, much more so than in Dark Souls 1. This can make it easier for new players to learn PvP-relevant parry timings, as they can be practiced in PvE. This also serves to make the game more consistent. Players won't have to memorize two separate timing behaviors to use the move successfully.